all season long on your home for Kansas City Chiefs football in Omaha. 1290 Coil. Chiefs football is presented by Jay Stinnett Contracting. We have you covered.
For these kids who did
the backseat. Check the backseat.
All right, come here.
Check the backseat.
Gets in your head, right? Good. Because every year, dozens of children are forgotten in the backseat of a car by a parent or caregiver. All never thought it could happen to them. But with changes in routines, distractions, or a sleeping child, it can happen to anyone. Parked cars get hot, fast, and can be deadly. So get it in your head.
Check the backseat.
A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The Huskers are headed to the locker room, and it's time for Big Red Overreaction.
Well, here we go again, friends. Nebraska falls today 27-20 to the UCLA Bruins as a 6.5-point favorite. And once again, Nebraska with an opportunity to clinch a bowl bid with a 6th win of the season. And they have now gone 0 for their last 8, falling behind 27-7, making a comeback attempt. But with Heinrich Harburg on the field, trying to get down the field, a final interception, and the Bruins, who had just 2 wins coming into this game, but had a little momentum going all the way across country, beating Rutgers, and then having an off week just to feel a little bit better about things. And Nebraska, once again, unable to build off of the momentum, I'm using air quotes, that they thought they had discovered last week in Columbus, Ohio. Welcome. We are live from Cross Drain Brewing in La Vista, just off of Portal Road, south of Giles. If you're headed back from the game and you need something just to feel better about yourself, stop on by. Stop on by. Exit 442 off the interstate. Just take Giles Road until you hit the come and go. That's Portal Road, and wind your way in. It's about a half mile off of Giles on Portal Road, and that's where you will find us here. We've had a great crowd on hand all night as we have watched this game together. And, boy, Josh, I mean, this is – I know we both thought they were going to win. You certainly had a lot of confidence that Nebraska was going to win this game.
Yeah.
Yes, the pie is here.
She's getting it ready. Kelsey's getting it ready.
The pie is here. Josh is
yeah.
going to have to eat. Yeah, his punishment is he has to eat delicious apple pie. But, man, this was painful from the jump.
It was one of those games where, early on I immediately realized, okay, I'm absolutely going to have to eat a piece of pie. This is horrible. I just got an email that's titled Joke. I feel like that does a pretty good job of describing what we saw today as Texas Tech has a joke of a play from 1st and goal at the 1 against Iowa State. This was a really, really, really bad performance. Really, really. And I have a guess on where a lot of the conversation is going to go tonight, where a lot of the opinions are going to go tonight. But I wanted to read this message that I got a little bit earlier from David because I think it's going to be a little fitting for what we'll hear. Really starting to think Nebraska is dead. No matter who they bring in, the rot and losing mentality is too ingrained to get rid of. Nothing works. It was just a classic, too, that they end up losing by a score. They lose the game by 1 score, which, they always lose games by 1 score.
Yes, it was a 1-score game, but remember, UCLA had a 2-score lead for most of this game.
Oh, so that's not me saying, like, nice job fighting. It's just of course, classic Nebraska to lose a game by a score. When they had no business losing a game by a score, every single touchdown drive only happened because there were personal foul penalties, or those
Correct.
extended the
drive. I mean,
drive.
this game could have been a lot worse.
Yes,
it really could have been a lot worse. Even go back to the very first drive, the very first scoring drive, down 10-0. UCLA gets another 3 and out, and they call a very questionable, at least in my opinion. He must have said something just horrific in terms of getting the taunting penalty, but in my opinion, a weak taunting penalty. And that kept the drive alive. They get the big completion down the field to Ja'Cory Barney, and they managed to get it in the end zone. But all 3 of their scoring drives aided by UCLA mental mistakes. Other than that, UCLA outplayed Nebraska. They get their first 100-yard rushing game of the season.
Dude, pathetic. Absolutely
their
pathetic.
First 100-yard rushing game. And yeah, I know. Last week, it was a great effort. They were inspired. This, that. Again, I asked the question earlier this week, can you trust this team? Can you trust this team as Texas Tech has taken the lead?
Give me those 2 points of predictions, baby.
Texas Tech has taken the lead at Iowa State with 19 seconds left. So
this is huge for the playoff race because
yes, it
Texas
is.
Tech obviously very much controlled their own destiny. This would be absolutely brutal for the Clones.
Yeah.
Not brutal for me.
But could you trust this team?
Yeah.
And the answer is an emphatic no. You
Unequivocally.
can't trust this team. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of calls, and we're going to welcome them all in tonight on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline, 402-951-1620, that, the program's cursed, this, that. But listen, Matt Rhule has tried every time to push off anything that happened in the past, reflecting back on his program. This is Matt Rhule's program. This is their program.
Yeah.
This loss wasn't a loss that was created because of something Scott Frost did. It wasn't created because of something Mike Riley did. It wasn't created because of whatever, nonsense has happened in the last, several years for Nebraska football.
It's a good way to describe it.
This is this program.
Yeah.
This is this program. And the question was, can you trust this team?
Yeah. And we know the
answer is no.
Yeah.
They can't stack together consistent, solid performances in a row. I'll be very interested to hear what Matt Rhule has to say about this one, and I hope to God he doesn't go off on another 4-minute-long sermon.
I'm guessing there's a lot of people that agree with you on that
because I'd just rather him just answer the questions.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of questions after this one.
Yeah, there absolutely are, and it's funny too, man, because you look at the box score, and I'm going to avoid the offense for the time being, but you look at the box score, and in terms of defense, I think that you say, you can win a game with that. UCLA only gets 358 yards. You do mention what you did with the rushing game, over 100 yards for the first time this year, but they only did it on 4.6 yards per carry. But, man, that is one of those games where if you just look at the box score, and I would love to know, and if you can get those for us, first versus second half, I would love to know what it was in the first half, because that's the difference in this one was the first half and what they were able to do. They sucked the life out of that building. I look forward to hearing from fans that were at the game, because from our vantage point, watching it here across Strain, it seemed like, the first quarter they had 13 and a half minutes time of possession, and it seemed like they were just able to suck everything out of the stadium. And so by the point that the second half arrived, even though by that point it was only 13-7, we know what happens. The pick six changed everything. And then UCLA, the next time they get the ball, they score again. And by that point, the game was over. It was over, even though in the end it says it's a 7-point loss. No, it was not that. UCLA dominated this game until they just kind of stopped and just tried to stiff arm Nebraska a little bit towards the end.
What's the numbers you're looking for? First half,
I want first half yards, second half yards.
First half, UCLA had 248 yards to Nebraska's 71.
Cool.
In the second half, UCLA had 110. Most of it came on that scoring drive.
Most of it came on the scoring drive.
And 251 for Nebraska.
Yeah, so think about that. They did all of their work in the first half. And I know, again, they were only up by 6 points, but they get the pick six, and then they get that first drive. And by that point in time, they really did not have to do anything. It was just, let's see if we can make sure we hold Nebraska off just a little bit more. And sure enough, Nebraska, they are unable to get out of their way. They drive down, they cannot score. They're aided by a penalty on the next drive. But from first snap on first and goal until they score a touchdown, and 3 minutes of game time that it took for them to score a touchdown. And so all that time is gone. And that's the story of the game, is just the time in this one disappeared slowly and slowly and slowly.
Michael Severe had a tweet after Nebraska got their second touchdown. Let me see if I can find it. Nebraska got the ball to the 9-yard line with 6:47 left. This is when they were down 27-14. They scored at 3:57. So 2 minutes and 50 seconds of game clock from the 9-yard line.
Crazy.
From the 9-yard line.
And again, that was aided. That was aided by the personal foul that happened on third down. So it was going to be 4th and goal, but it ended up being 1st and goal. And they still didn't score right away.
And again, a lot of this is because Nebraska doesn't have a good running game. They have a very, very below average running game. And I'm being nice here.
Oh, yeah,
I'm being nice here. I mean, I could say it's bad.
Oh, I would.
I could say it's bad. It's very, very below average. And if you got a quarterback that's not a mobile quarterback for the most part, you've got to have a complementary running game. Nebraska has not had that. It has been brutal.
113 yards, 38 carries, 3.0 yards per.
And then it's also been brutal. Yes, Isaiah Nair did show up in the second half, had the touchdown catch, had a couple of catches in the second half, had the great catch at the end of the third quarter, falling along the sideline. So I'll give Nair credit. He showed up. Again, Jamal Banks. These are your top 2 receivers.
Dude.
And Jamal Banks tonight.
Yeah, at least Nair had a good performance because Jamal Banks did not.
Yeah, Jamal Banks has been on the milk carton. In fact, the milk carton is so old, it's
spoiled.
It's the stuff that you used to get from the Roberts Dairy Man. Receiving, Banks had 2 catches for 13 yards. That means that he has, if my math is correct, he has 8 catches for about 100 yards in the last 4 games.
Not good enough.
That's your number 1 receiver.
Not good enough.
Naor ended up with 4 catches for 89 yards, so he did acquit himself a little bit, did have the touchdown. But just a bad game. A bad game all around. The defense, again, could not get stops at critical times. And, UCLA did go into a bit of a shell in the second half, just trying to burn clock. And it worked. It worked as they win 27-20. Over Nebraska. Now the Huskers have lost 3 straight. They're 5-4. And guess what? They get to go into a idle week with all of this 6-win stuff, bowl game stuff hanging over their heads. And questions will be asked, and we'll be hearing from Matt Rhule here shortly. Peter will let us know as soon as he is ready to go from Lincoln, and we'll take you live to the Matt Rhule press conference. But going to be a lot of questions over the next 2 weeks. And you got to go to USC, another team that's been a bit of a head case, but playing a little bit better. We'll see them against UCLA or against Washington here in about 30 minutes. But man, this one's hard to take because this was dare I say, the most winnable game of the last 4.
Yeah, and it looks like Matt Rhule, Peter, has just started, so hopefully we can get that.
Yep,
press
we just got
going.
him on here.
All right, perfect. Let's listen to Matt Rhule after Nebraska's lost to UCLA today.
So we're obviously disappointed. That was a tremendous missed opportunity for us. A game that we had every opportunity to win. Even when we got back down, we clawed back in it, chance at the end, and didn't make the plays that you need to make. So credit to them. I'm sure you guys have lots of questions. I'm happy to answer them all.
Why have things seemed so difficult for your offense globally, but also today within the red zone and even in the first half? What do you think is leading to these struggles?
I think they did a good job early on of coming out and just all out maxing. Like they were literally bringing 4 guys in the B gaps and bringing the free safety behind. And some of the mechanisms we have to handle that are the screen game and our gapping it up, maxing it up, and trying to throw the ball down the field. Eventually we got to one with Naor where, he hit them down the field and got them a little bit out of that. But they took the ball. They went on a long drive. We went 3 and out. They went on another long drive. And we had seen that against Rutgers. We had seen that, that's kind of how they play early on in the first half. Rutgers only had 3 possessions. We were able to hit the big play, make it a 7-0 game. But I think in general, in the passing game, when it came to third down and converting third downs, they were just all out zero blitzing us, and we weren't answering it the way that you need to. And once we, you finished the game like 9 of 17 on third down. I can't tell you in the first half. At one point, it was like 1 for a lot. So we struggled. Made the adjustment in the second. We made the adjustment early. We got it, kind of finally taken care of in the second half, and we're able to stay on the field more. And then, down in the red zone, the first time down there we scored, obviously, right? So that was, we were good there. Really, the one before the half, put the ball in the 2. we've been running the power play. We lost Barrett, so we put Elijah Judy in at fullback. He was doing a great job. He went down. So just kind of really more a matter of a couple times bodies, and then just finding a play to get in. They maxed us again, zeroed us up, and we just didn't withstand it. So in terms of everything that went wrong, in the first half, I came in to the guys, Sam in the locker room. I said, it's about as bad a half of football as you could withstand between the offense and the defense, and yet it was 13-7. So I thought we were excited to go out and play in the second half, and then unfortunately had that pick six, but still crawled back into it. So I think there's a lot of things that we have to continue to work on.
What do they do in the first quarter to kind of tip the scale so much? 21 plays to your 3, 4 or 5 on third downs. What were they doing to get you so off balanced as a defense? Because we didn't see that last week against a team on paper in Ohio State that obviously most would consider a pretty elite offense.
Yeah, they've done that. This team, UCLA coming in, they went down the field and scored on the first drive against Rutgers. I believe they scored on the first drive against Minnesota. They have a veteran quarterback who's kind of finding his rhythm in that offense. And they won on third down versus man. They threw the shallow cross, they threw the corner out. We were able to hold them to a field goal, but we just couldn't get off the field early on in that drive on that series. And then the second time through, we really couldn't get off the field as well. As I told the guys when I kind of pulled them all up, it was we had a sack, we just kind of fell off him, he ran out. We had another one where we blitzed 5 and he went up in the A gap, went for about 60 yards. So a lot of little things that aren't really about talent, but just about us kind of making the play that's there to be made. And I thought we settled down a little bit after that. But I think Garber's legs hurt us. And but we came into it knowing like, hey, they've moved well early. The key to people has been, wearing them down in the fourth quarter. Like that game was a carbon copy of their Minnesota game, where Minnesota got the ball back and went down the field. They just made one more play to win the game. And unfortunately, Heinrich makes the fourth down stop. We get down there and then we take a penalty, we lose the time, and we don't make the plays.
That penalty, pick six on the first play of the third quarter, how difficult was that to withstand? And do you think that Dylan did he not see the linebacker? And also was that an issue with him as far as not seeing things downfield at times during the game?
Well, I think, he was under duress in the first half. And I think any young quarterback coming out of that would probably start to see a lot. The old saying, you see a lot, you see a little, you see a little, you see a lot. I think he wasn't real comfortable. I don't want to speak for him, but with all the things he was saying, I don't think he was real comfortable. No, that was a play action pass to Thomas down the middle of the field into cover 2. And he was running free. It was going to be an explosive play. And in behind it is an in cut, and he just threw the in cut. So credit to him. I thought after that, he settled down. We found some run game, and again, a lot of that was kind of what we had seen people do against them. Right? They withstand the early storm from UCLA and their script, and then you kind of make the plays to get back in the game. Unfortunately, that pick six and really the missed opportunity down the red zone on the first time that hurt us and set it apart.
On that last touchdown drive, I know it was a little hectic with Dylan getting hurt and whatnot, but were you okay with the pace, or did you want your offense to kind of pick up the pace?
Yeah, my philosophy has been in those situations, like you're in a 2-for-1 situation, so you want to score before the 2-minute. So at 4:38, I know everyone was kind of upset. The crowd was, I think at one point, Howard, try to get everyone to calm down. I understand why, but we knew, we had 2 timeouts, we had the 2-minute conversion, we wanted to get in the right plays. Again, some of those things. Ramir Johnson went down. Elijah Judy went down. The quarterback went down. So trying to get the right people in the game to run some of those red zone plays, was a little bit difficult. And then with what they do, right, you're getting up there and it's either cover 2 or zero blitz. So you're kind of having to check some things. So, but in the end, it worked, right? We scored the touchdown. We scored it with 3:20 left. We stopped them. They punted the ball back to us, and we had 2:30, and we had a chance to go down and score. And in this league, if you have the ball at the end with a chance to go score and tie or win a game, that's Big Ten football. And we just didn't make the plays once we crossed the 50. You have to make, and obviously that penalty was big.
Did Dylan decide on his own to go back in the game there for a second, or did you guys clear him to go back in and then?
Well, the doctors cleared those guys, right? So I think, once the doctor said he was cleared, I just saw him running in. I wasn't part of anything saying, hey, let's get Dylan in here. I think once he went through whatever testing they had, he went to run out. And then And then, obviously that just felt the pain again and just said, hey, I can't do this. So
Do you have a sense of where the injury was and what caused it? Was it just a hit?
I think it was a hit to his back. Yeah, I think it was his back.
How tough is this going into the bye week now? I mean, you had an opportunity obviously today to get to number 6. Now you got another whole week to think about this. I mean, how do you move forward from something like today?
You just try to dominate tomorrow. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it was a tremendous missed opportunity. It's a game that despite everything that happened early on, we weathered the storm and had a chance to go in. And, now we have to battle back. So, it's the same question, you guys asked me after Indiana. I said, hey, we'll be back. I expect us to be back, along the way. Obviously when something like that, today happens and, that people are going to be disgruntled. You're going to hear things and the players are going to hear things. And that's all part of it, right? That's all part of when you lose a game like this. And so, if I was in the stands today, I'd be frustrated. I know a lot of guys probably in the locker room are frustrated because they know we're better than that, right? And but we are where we are, and you have to just have to play yourself back into it. And we have 3 more opportunities to go play football. We've got some great seniors that I know want to win one, if not 2 or 3, and that's what we'll have to do.
I know you guys have a standard. Players talk about having a standard on defense, and it felt like last week you played with that, but maybe 2 of the last 3 games maybe didn't play with that in the first half. Do you have a sense of why that maybe hasn't quite been there in the Indiana in this game?
Well, I think sometimes you have to give credit to the other team. They scored 35 points the last time they played, coming off a bye. I thought they threw and caught. It wasn't like a game other than that one crack toss. It wasn't a game like we didn't tackle. We had some opportunities on the quarterback, and then we started making some plays late. After that pick 6, I thought the rest, we come out the first drive of the second half, we have the pick 6. I thought the defense after that, they did give up, 1 score, but I thought they hung in there. But I think a lot of credit has to go to UCLA and their passing game and the things that they did and quarterback making plays. Tommy got back out there, he went and played. So, I don't think this didn't feel like, they weren't trying or anything like that. It just, this was a good offense today. And, I told them, I prepared them. It was 17-17 against LSU. And late in the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, just LSU made the plays in the fourth quarter. And I wanted to get to the fourth quarter and make more plays than they did. And, we came close, but we just didn't do it.
And, after last week, we talked championship mindset and what have you. And no matter how ready they were to play today, how much did that first quarter kind of suck the life out of you? Because it was tough to get into a flow when you eventually did get the ball.
Yeah, I just don't want to say that because I don't sound like I'm making an excuse. Like just the blocks, the plays, like they just weren't good enough. Like we just didn't do enough good plays. Like when a guy made a play, like Jacory made that amazing catch, right? Nayor makes that amazing catch. But Dante had some good runs. All of a sudden, now that leads to points. When you don't do those things, you're not going to score. And so, I thought credit to UCLA, they made some more plays than we did, and I don't want to make any excuses about, hey, we didn't have the ball or anything like that. At the end of the day, we had our opportunities, and even going down to the very end of the 2-minute, we didn't quite execute, getting out of bounds and lining up correctly. I mean, it's hard to win the Big Ten if you're not going to line up correctly in 2 minutes. So, and it's not just about that one play. There's lots of plays. You go back through the day, so all you can do if you're me and our players is just go back to work and just keep grinding and try to get a little bit better at it.
You mentioned getting to the fourth quarter and making more plays. What kind of thought do you give about the way that you've started games the last 3 times out? Obviously, the defense played well last week at the start, but tentative offensively the last couple. And even in Indiana, it hasn't been coming out with your hair on fire at the beginning of the game. Do you see correlation there?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, again, goes back to third down. The football coach in me wants to say one thing, but I never want to come across as an excuse. You're playing these teams coming off buys, and they're doing different things against you, right? They studied you for 2 weeks, and they studied themselves, and they're coming out and they're throwing something new at you. And I think you get a series in, you kind of settle everyone down. But we have. I mean, this wasn't good enough. You have to play better than this. You have to come out and you have to make plays, and you can't ease your way into it. Jacory made a couple of big plays that really allowed us to move the ball down the field. But yeah, we've got to do more early. But with that being said, we've crawled our way back into it. But there's a lot of areas, obviously, Mitch, that need to be better to have a chance to win these games.
Given that, Dylan seemed hurt, now you do get a bye week. How much energy do you put into getting him right? But simultaneously, now you got to think about another quarterback behind Heinrich. Do you know off the top of your head who that person?
Oh, yeah, I mean, so what happened tonight? Danny would have gone in there and played. We get 4 quarterbacks ready. Danny and Jalen, they're always ready to go. And for a really difficult situation to be thrust into, Heinrich, he made enough plays to have a chance. Now, they were in cover 2 and not rushing. So when we held up in the rush, he was able to push the ball down the field. But yeah, no, I think Danny, if Danny's called upon, we expect Danny to go play well. All right,
Thank you.
guys.
That is Matt Rhule live from Lincoln, 402-951-1620 on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. We've had folks lined up. We will get to you. Let's get you a couple of quick scoreboard updates brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems. Georgia scoring 2 quick touchdowns in succession to take a 14-point lead late in Jacksonville. They should hold on and win the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And Texas Tech beats Iowa State tonight. They get a touchdown inside of the last 30 seconds and win that one 23-22. Iowa State, first loss of the year. And now Texas Tech is in the running for the Big 12 championship. That's your scoreboard presented by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air systems experts. We will get right to your calls and be there for the next hour and a half.
And pie. It's been sitting there. It's been waiting for me when we return.
Yep. Josh guaranteed a 10-point or more win for Nebraska today.
I almost got reverse covered.
You almost got reverse covered. So the pie is coming. Yes, Josh's punishment is he has to eat delicious pie. Matt Rhule needs to be eating something else tonight, according to a lot of the people in
there is a very common theme in the comments.
There's some anger tonight, and we'll take your calls. We'll be back. We are live in Cross Drain. We are just south of Giles on Portal Road. If you're coming back from Lincoln or wherever you are, just get off the interstate, exit 442, hit Giles, over to Portal, down here. That's where we are. Come on by and
commiserate.
We've
gotten used to this. We're so good at doing this. At the very least, we can have a party about the sadness. It's like a wake.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe.
Great.
Hey, here's an idea for us: a wake for the Nebraska football program. Let's do that at the end of the year, maybe.
It is Big Red Overreaction presented by Pinnacle Bank. We take banking personally. By Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. John and Josh back after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. We want to thank Doug and everybody here at Cross Drain for being great hosts today. We've had a great time, even though the game stunk. Great atmosphere, excellent beer, had a lot of good free pizza, and pretty soon Josh is going to be eating this delicious pie. Yes, that our good friend, the official baker of the program, Kelsey, made for us. It even had 1620 the pie decorated in pie crust on the top.
It did.
But we'll wait.
We'll wait. I wanted to read a couple comments
Please,
as we
go
kick
ahead.
off the calls because, I think this is the tenor. Scott writes, honeymoon is over, preacher boy. And the other Dave says, Rhule is winless in November. Mr. Let's dominate the elements and late season games. I've lost confidence in Satterfield and Foley. This might be the first time I've lost confidence in Rhule. Wimpy press conference. And I like those to kick it off because they have the same sentiment but said in different ways. I said it to you going into or off the air. A lot of people really do not seem to like this guy. And I think what we viewed as like a positive, a great spokesperson for the program. I understand after losses like this, another loss like this, that it falls on deaf ears, if not outright frustrates people.
Well, this is the second time Nebraska's been a 6 to 9 point favorite at home and have lost.
Yeah.
They lost to Illinois as a 9.5 point favorite. They lost as a 6.5 point favorite to a team that had just 2 wins this year.
Yeah.
So I get the frustration.
Yeah.
And people have a right to be frustrated. They have a right to be very frustrated.
It's another
because again, you cannot trust this team.
No.
This team has a head problem. I don't know what it is, but UCLA had an extra week. And if I hear anything about, well, maybe we underestimated UCLA, that is an indictment. If we hear it, we haven't heard it yet, but if we do hear it, that is an indictment. 402-951-1620. Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Tyler has been waiting for an hour. Tyler, I hope you're ready to go.
Oh, how are you guys doing today?
Hi, Tyler.
We're here.
Oh man, that was just utter embarrassing, and it just.
Tyler.
Tyler's been on hold.
I mean, if this team. Oh, sorry, guys.
Go ahead.
If Marcus Satterfield passes the ball on first down, you bet he is passing the ball again on third down or second down. If he passes on second, you bet he's throwing it on third. That guy does not follow what Rhule said was his mentality of we run the pass, we establish the run. In November, you better be able to run the ball. Marcus Satterfield does not live that. He does not try to establish a run. And I don't even think that Rhule cares about that anymore because he's obviously not changing that. So Satterfield, in my mind, he's just got to go.
I would be stunned if Marcus Satterfield is back at Nebraska in 2025.
Oh,
I would be very surprised.
If he is, he won't be in the role as play caller.
He will not be on the staff anymore.
If he is, he will not be in the role as play caller. I feel like that is almost a certainty. Tyler, we appreciate the call. One of the problems is they didn't run many plays in the first half. They ran 20 plays.
They had 3 plays in the first quarter. That was the 3 and out. They passed.
And credit to UCLA, they took their time, and that's what you got to do on the road. And while their traditional run game wasn't great, they got the key scrambles at the right time from Garbers, and then Garbers made some big boy throws. This is a good quarterback. We talked to Wayne Cook, the sideline reporter, the former
scoot to his game, man.
Yeah, scoot to his game, and he was not afraid to grip it and rip it. Meanwhile, how many times did we see on third down and obvious passing situations, UCLA in that mush rush, as we used to call it, where everybody's standing at the line of scrimmage, it confuses the offensive line, they got pressure up the middle. We saw what Illinois did in overtime. They just came right at Dillon, straight through the A-gap. It got him flustered. Yeah. UCLA did the same thing. That worked almost 100% of the time.
There were multiple third downs where they were bringing 7 guys. 7 guys.
Right.
It was disrespect, in my opinion, and rightfully so. This is not it's disrespect or lack of respect of Nebraska's offensive line to protect Dillon. It's disrespect of Dillon and being able to stand there and make the throw, and certainly zero respect for Nebraska's wide receivers.
And why would you?
Exactly. Absolutely zero respect for the pass catchers for Nebraska.
Here is Brett up next on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Thanks, Brett, for waiting. You're on Big Red Overreaction with John and Josh.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Hey,
I just I always think we should have had a 2-quarterback system with Harburg. To me, Rhule looked shook in pretty much the whole game, and he doesn't look comfortable anymore.
No.
So I'm not sure why Rhule's not doing that. I think it would probably make him play a little better as well. But to me, I mean, did he look shook to you?
Well, he certainly was when you got pressure up in your face. I mean, and his mechanics have never been great. He tends to get nervous feet. Again, the problem is, and I'm not using this as an excuse for Satterfield or for Rhule or anybody, but when you don't have a running game, it makes you so one-dimensional, and it makes it so easy to defend.
Yeah.
And if you don't have big playmakers on the edge or a tight end that you can run down the seam, it just makes everything more difficult. Nebraska right now just doesn't have enough guys, and they don't have a running game that can make defenses play honestly. And, yeah, credit to these opponents. They're heating up a true freshman quarterback. He is still a true freshman quarterback. Yes, he can make some big boy throws, but he also is going to, be a little frazzled under pressure. And until, you can give him a little bit of help, and it takes a team, right? It takes a team.
This is what it's going to be.
This is what it's going to be.
Yeah, I just think that maybe bringing him in Harburg a little more, change things up and try to, establish that run. I understand totally what you guys are saying. I mean, I've been watching it since the beginning of the season, but it looks like when they did start running some of the plays in the second half, they were getting some positive yardage. But then when he dropped back to throw, he had almost no time to make some of those throws. So I don't know, trying to think of what can be done to get this back on track.
I don't know, Brett, but they've got an extra week now to think about it before they head on the road to LA.
How about here's an indicting comment from Ian on Twitter. It takes time to build a program, quoting Matt Rhule. Rhule, 0-3 versus first-year Power 4 head coaches.
Sure, it takes time to build a program, but UCLA is doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's what he's
This
saying.
Is Deshaun Foster's
he's saying,
first year.
That's
yeah.
So
yeah.
So they lost today. They lost to Kurt Signetti. By the way, shout out to us once again. Indiana rolls.
Yeah,
if only,
fell behind 10-0.
Interesting
and then
how one of the
big.
stations on the zone continues to get Indiana correct.
Yeah.
Last year, of course, they lost to Deion Sanders and Colorado,
yeah.
Another first-year head coach.
402-951-1620. Ichabod is next on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Hello, Ichabod.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, obviously, people are bagging on Satterfield, and I agree with this.
Yeah.
And Ed Foley, obvious. But what's going on with Tony White's defense? And also, you talk about how they have no run game.
Yep.
Part of having a run game is having a solid offensive line. Have we had any improvement in offensive line since Donovan Rhule has been, doing his thing?
I thought they were improved last year over the year before.
Okay, well, with that being said, do you see improvement this year?
No, I would say that the kindest thing you could say is that they have stood pat.
Yeah.
But, in games like this, last year they were definitely, the numbers were juiced by having a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
The numbers were definitely juiced by having a mobile quarterback.
But this is different now because you don't have that element, and now you have to run a lot of straight power to make things work.
And again, when the receivers
and you don't have any
can't
great
get
running backs
separation,
either.
You have everything is causing problems for everything else right now.
Yeah.
Every position group is causing problems for every other position group right now.
Yeah, there's not an eraser.
No.
On
they
offense.
don't have a player. They don't have a player.
No.
Yeah, it's an ongoing problem from year to year to year. And,
Yes.
I've been watching Nebraska football since I was 8, and that was 45 years ago. And
Nice.
It's getting very, very hard to do anymore. But with that being said, one more question. Do you think, and I don't propose sending people away because it's not what we want and need, but Dylan Rhule probably could be a very good quarterback if he just had somebody to block for him.
Is there a question in there, or is there a question?
Yeah, I'm hesitant to ask because, like I said, you don't want.
I know what you want to ask. Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel bad for the guy, and do you think maybe he should consider other options?
Well, that'll be a question for the end of the season.
That's the question that everybody continues
Sure.
to ask right now. And I can't tell someone not to ask that question. First of all, players leave all the time. This is college football in 2024. So, having an opinion that a player would want to leave is not an asinine opinion. Having an opinion that a player who came in with the pedigree that he did and is having the season that he has had now, he had his first touchdown pass in September today, by the way.
Correct.
I would understand why you want to ask that question or why you would be worried about it. I can't give you the answer, though. I mean, a lot of that's going to come down to, and I don't know if people are going to want to hear this, but it's true. What type of demands does he have? What type of demands does his dad have? What are they hoping for from the offense? Like, they are not just viewing this as a 1, 2, 3 year play. This is a long-term NFL play, and you want to make sure that you are at a program that can get you to the next level. Do they leave this season thinking that Nebraska is the place that can get him to the next level?
But I would say this:
It's a
there's part of that.
question.
There's part of that on Dylan too. If his
100%.
mechanics do not improve,
100%.
he will not play in the NFL.
100%.
If his mechanics do not improve, he will not play in the NFL.
100%.
One other thing, if you want to bag on the offensive line, that's fine. But remember who the offensive line coach is. His uncle.
Hey, if I said that I feel very comfortable in saying that Satterfield will not call plays next year, put this on the list. Donovan Raiola will be the offensive line coach next year.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
Dylan's back, Donovan Raiola's back too.
Absolutely.
He is not. They are not getting. And if you don't like that again, that's fine. I have no issue if you're like, well, then I don't like this whole process.
This is the bed you made.
Yeah, exactly. It 100% is.
Brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair and by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Are you going to take a bite now? I thought we were going to wait.
Until when?
Wow, look at you.
Hey.
You're digging right in. Like, it's almost like you want to, like you enjoy it. Oh,
it does smell good.
It's been smelling. It's been sitting in front of me for the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
It smells great.
It does smell good. You know, what's the moonshine? I had moonshine like this a few years back. It kind of smelled like this.
Apple moonshine, I'm sure.
Very tasty. All right.
Here we go. Warm fruit, warm baked fruit. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, come on. That's got to be delicious. That has to be the best. I mean, look at that.
It's the texture. It's very tasty, though.
Oh, it's very what do you mean the texture? It's, it's delicious. Look at that. Oh, my God.
Kelsey is amazing.
She sliced the apples really thin. That is divine.
All of the other listeners yell at us. Kelsey brings us food. Shout out, Kelsey.
Enjoy that pie.
I'm going to do I have to eat the whole piece? There's a lot of pie.
It's delicious. You haven't had dinner yet.
That's true. I did have pizza earlier.
One call more, and we'll take a quick break. Here's Sean. Hi, Sean. Thanks for waiting. You're in the zone with John and Josh on Big Red Overreaction.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
So I have three quick things.
Okay.
Number one, John, you are old.
Yeah.
Number two.
What's the point? Tell me something I
Yeah.
don't know. Enlighten
That
me.
was the whole point. I feel like you.
Oh, that's the point.
The second thing,
Sean, you're on a roll, baby. You're like Nebraska's offense.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of Nebraska's offense, if Nebraska's offense were truly rolling and doing exactly what they were supposed to do, what is that? Like, what identity is? I don't even want to say Satterfield, but like, what is this team supposed to be doing on offense?
Sean?
They want to be a ball control
I don't
offense.
know.
They want to be a ball control offense that doesn't turn the ball over. That's what they want.
But
They want to.
They're not playing like that. They're not.
Well, yeah, they're
playing
not.
like
I'm just. You had the
calling plays.
question. I'll give you the answer. That's what they want to do. They just are incapable of doing it.
Correct.
So do you
Good
think
question,
that they are? Do you think that they're switching the script because they can't succeed? Because I mean, they're not
Switching the
calling
script
plays
how?
and,
Switching the script how?
by calling pass plays constantly when you know, if what you said is correct, which I agree with, like they want to be a run first team, ball control team, like it seems like maybe they get away from that pretty quickly.
They can't run the ball though.
Yeah, that's the problem, Sean. That's the
Why
problem. I
can't
mean,
they run the
they really can't run the ball. And, you know, and let's be honest, we talked about it all week, Josh. Teams throw the ball more on UCLA because they are susceptible to the pass.
When you can't throw the ball.
And then,
you
of course,
can't throw the ball on UCLA.
And so I don't necessarily fault them for coming out trying to throw because that's what teams have done, and they've been very successful with it. But the problem is, and give credit again to UCLA, they pressed up on Nebraska's receivers. Nebraska couldn't win one-on-one battles, and a few of those early incompletions were challenge throws, and Nebraska's receivers didn't have enough space to make the catch.
So that makes sense. What did you think about the play calling in this game?
Not much. I mean, it's not great. It's not great, Sean.
But the execution wasn't good either.
And the execution's not good. I mean, again,
what would you change?
What would I change at this point? Phew, boy.
See, now that
I don't know.
Sean, I'll be honest. I hate that question. It's nothing against you. I hate it because I don't have an answer.
I don't either.
I don't have an answer for what I would do differently.
Neither do I. No, I called into you guys, the pros.
The pros.
To tell me what to think, and
Well, my job's not to tell you what to think. You think for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm just here to take calls and have a good time.
That
Sean?
leads directly into my third point.
The third point.
I just want to encourage all of your listeners, myself included, to vote, and don't vote for the racist guy.
Nice. At least I agreed with Sean on one thing in the call.
Sean, appreciate it. 402-951-1620.
I got nothing for you
No,
in
I don't
terms
either.
of what would I do differently. They don't have good enough wide receivers. Look, shout out to Nayor, I guess. He did have the most yards today.
Yeah.
I still get frustrated by and this is the first time that you and I have watched a game together this weekend. What did I say a lot? Fight for the ball, fight for the ball, fight for the ball. He doesn't fight for the ball. At least he made some plays. Banks, dude, he's giving my dog a bad name. He's a liability on the field. He can't block. Can't block. He can't get separation. He had that catch. He had that great. There was a throw that he should have made late in the game. He did not make the catch. Other than that, Barney obviously is really fast, right?
God bless him.
And hey, at least they threw the ball.
Made a couple of nice plays.
Yeah, they can't run the ball. Every run play looks the same. It either picks up 0 yards or it gets like 6. Where it's like, oh, there's more room, and then they never get more room. The quarterback has a whole host of issues right now. I think he's spooked back there. I think he drops back, and I think he is spooked as a quarterback. I don't think he trusts the time that he's given, and his feet are bad. And the pick 6, which I don't think we've mentioned yet, one of the more horrific decisions that we have seen.
Yeah. It was a beautiful play action fake. One of the things that he doesn't do well is play action fake, and he actually had a good play action fake, and you thought, ooh, something's going to be open down the field.
Yeah.
Throws the intermediate route, does not see the linebacker, ends up right in his breadbasket, and then has a really poor attempt at tackling. And I get it. He's a quarterback. You don't want a quarterback going in there with his shoulder first.
His shoulder's already
right. So I guess I can give him a little bit of grace there. But
you were not happy with that play, though.
I'll give him no grace for the throw.
The throw was horrible.
The throw and the decision was brutal.
And so, John, I just named all the things, and then that doesn't even mention the offensive line, who at times today they had 6 or 7 guys rushing them, and 7 is more than 5. 7 is more than 6, which they were trying to do at the back.
Yeah.
You can't max protect and then expect players to get down the field. Again, every issue that is on offense is having a problem because the other issues on offense.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. 402-951-1620, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. And by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. We are live at Cross Strain in La Vista. Come by and join us if you have a moment. The Texas A&M South Carolina game has just started, so we've got that on here. And, of course, all the great beers that they serve here at Cross Strain. Thanks again to Doug and everybody here for having us on Big Red Overreaction. We continue after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The K. Wait a second. You're not supposed.
I'm sharing it.
Oh, you're sharing.
I love my parents.
He's supposed to eat the pie.
I'm sharing. I had some.
It was good. It was very good.
And also, Kelsey brought scotcheroos for me as well. So yeah.
This is crazy. Josh makes terrible takes.
Yep.
He makes terrible predictions.
Yeah.
And gets rewarded with pie and cookies.
I know, man. People love me.
Why?
Well, it's a good question. Ask my parents. They created me.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyway, 402-951-1620. Rusty writes, Josh is right about the offense, but it's worse. They use personnel wrong consistently. How many times are we going to use Fedoni on lateral type plays? I don't get it either. I mean,
John,
it started this way this year. I mean, I watched UCLA use their tight end, their big body tight end, and get him down the field in the seam. And yet Thomas Fedoni is still catching passes within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. I
hate that play.
I don't know why.
I hate that play. Adam texts into the show, 402-951-1620. If Rhule is serious, he fires Satterfield tomorrow. Having someone else call plays to finish the season can't be any worse than the status quo. If nothing else, it makes a direct point to all the other coaches and players in the locker room that results matter, and this isn't acceptable. People have been saying that for weeks. I'm not a huge fan of the guy as a play caller, obviously. I've continued to think he is not going to make a change. There's a part of me now that wonders if it's on the table, given that there is an idle week, that they're going into this stretch where they got to pick up a win. I
mean, certainly they could probably do it quietly behind the scenes and have and change up some responsibilities, but we'll see. But right now, everything is a struggle. 402-951-1620.
Before we go back to the phones, Kansas State fell to Houston, by the way.
Wow.
So 2 crazy Big 12 losses. If you missed it earlier, Texas Tech beat Iowa State. They scored in the last minute. So Iowa State falls from the list of unbeatens. Kansas State, they had 1 loss in conference. That was to BYU. Now they have 2 losses in conference.
And look at who the door's open for.
Colorado. They will be playing potentially for a trip to the college football playoff. So that conference has had a doozy of a day.
That scoreboard update brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your locally compressed air system experts. Here is Robert. Robert, thanks for waiting. You're on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Go ahead, Robert.
I think Robert's gone.
Yeah, I think Robert's phone just went kaput.
Mm-hmm.
Joel is next. Hi, Joel. Thanks for waiting. You're in the zone.
Hey, thanks, guys. Hey, I got 3 things, but I'll try to be quick.
Go ahead.
When Rhule was talked to before the game, he said something that was a little foreshadowing for me, and he said something to the tune of championship mindsets don't necessarily carry over week to week.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of gave me a little bit of a bad vibe. Anyway, my second thing is I understand Rhule is a freshman, but I'm getting kind of tired of the excuse for his poor play because he's a freshman. Well, when you're getting paid millions of dollars to be here, I don't really think you should use that excuse anymore. Third thing is, do we need to look clear back up to the very top of the program at the athletic directors that are hiring these coaches? Because maybe they're not very good at identifying the right coach for Nebraska. Thanks, guys.
Well, okay, a couple things. Obviously, fair question to always have about who hires coaches. The guy that hired Rhule, though, is gone. He's at Texas A&M now. So
who just fell behind 7-0.
Very interesting, though. Let's go. I have South Carolina in my pickup. Very interesting, though, that he brings up the championship mindset quote before
the second time that someone brought this up.
Jeff brought this up earlier on Twitter. He says, go rewatch the Rhule interview before kickoff. We were at home listening to it, and both said, what the hell? He knew we probably weren't going to win. And so I said, what was it? And along the lines of what Joel just said. Jeff says they asked him about seeing the championship mentality, and he's like, well, that was last week. My wife and I were like, WTH, isn't the championship mentality every week no matter who you play? He said a couple other things. My wife and I are like, he thinks we are losing. And then he had someone needs to push him on the presser. Obviously, I don't think anybody saw that before the game. That's interesting because that was one of the things that he talked about this week was that championship mindset.
Right.
And they didn't have it versus Indiana, but they did against Ohio State. They certainly did not have the championship mindset today. That did not show up at all. And my parents, right when we were coming back on the air, I was wondering, what was the atmosphere like? They said everything got sucked out of the stadium in that first quarter, which is not a surprise when the other team has the ball for 13 and a half minutes. It's going to do something to the fans. and they were obviously never able to get that back.
Could not have mapped out a better start for a team on the road as an underdog trying to take a hot crowd out of the game. Here is Will. Hi, Will. Thanks for joining us on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Hey, game aside, how you guys doing tonight?
Hey.
Fine.
I played offensive line, so I've started grading our offensive line every week on film, and I've been putting it out on Twitter. I don't think our offensive line is all that bad. A lot of the times the last 2 weeks when Dylan's been under pressure, it's been them sending 7 to 8 guys, or even more than that. They just full house blitz us, and we don't run any slants, drags, nothing. All our routes are 10-plus yards down the field, so Dylan doesn't have time to get to those reads before they develop. But we do have one massive issue on the offensive line, and that's Ben Scott. I watched that man face plant, whiff blocks, not get assignments every week. So I don't think the offensive line is that bad. We just don't commit to the run enough at all to help them out. We pop a run here or there, and we completely go away from it. Or we'll commit to it for a drive, and we'll move the ball, and then when we get inside the 40, here comes 4 straight passes, and the drive's over. So
Will, let me ask you a question. You think – so you said you grade the offensive line, and you think that they're solid. So when you say they don't commit to the run, that is disappointing to you because you think if they did that, they would have more success overall as an offense.
I do. There's been a few drives. I mean, we had one this game where we ran it all the way down, and then our drives die off. We had those a few times versus Ohio State too. When we actually commit to the run and we don't just run shotgun inside zone handoff with the running back to the right, we pop runs, and running backs get hot. That's also another issue. We pull running backs out after they've had a few good runs in a row. But yeah, when we actually decide to run the football and commit to the run, we're not half bad at it. It's just we don't ever do it, besides like a drive a game. Or like in the red zone, on the drive we didn't score, we had a 6-yard run, I believe, on the first play. And then we didn't run the ball again, and we, I think, ended up losing yards because I think Rhule got sacked. So yeah, I think run game-wise, we just don't run the ball. You can't run the ball one play a drive and be like, all right, that's going to establish the run, So yeah, that's just my opinion.
All right, well, thanks.
Thanks for the call. Well, it's so interesting. I am not an offensive line guy, so when I have my opinions on them, it's just only what I'm seeing on TV. Really interesting that he thinks that, they're not playing that poorly. I guess where I disagree still, though, is I don't think that they can run the ball that well. I think that they leave a lot of yards out there. I do think that, last week in the second half, I was impressed by what they were able to do. Again, we talked about it all week long on the Grum. We're very much grading on a curve, right, with what they're able to do. I think it was really difficult, though it was interesting. And I said this to you during the game. After the pick 6, they came out and they rushed it 5 or 6 times in a row.
Yep.
And that was the one time in the game where it seemed like they were able to move the opposition and pick up those yards, and they were able to do it, really physically. The backs, I think, were running strong. The line was getting pushed. It didn't last that way the entire game. But I did notice a difference in that game. It was almost like the proverbial, we got to pick it up our level of play because our quarterback isn't having his best day. And at that point, Rhule was 4 of 15 or something stupid.
Yeah. So that drive went Ramir for 4, Ramir for 11, Dowdell for 7, Dowdell for 4, Dowdell for 3, 2nd and 7, Emmett for 2. Right there, you got 3. First of all, you got 3 different running backs in there.
Yeah, and that goes back to what the caller just said.
3 different running backs.
Yeah,
for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I could understand maybe 2 after the first 3 or 4 runs, but now you got 3 different running backs in there. And then at 2nd and 7, short pass to Banks for 2 yards. 4th and 3, incomplete pass to Nayor, drive ends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why you have 3 different running backs in there on the same drive.
Yeah.
That's a problem that goes back to last year. Not sure what to think about that. We'll go to Montez and just move along. Hi,
All
Montez.
Right.
Thanks. You're joining us
Hey,
on Big
guys,
Red
what's going
Overreaction.
on?
Hey.
We're at Cross Strain, maybe eating pie and drinking beer.
I think that this season, the biggest problem on offense isn't Satterfield exactly. I think that one of the most hyped up recruits of this past decade just isn't panning out yet, and that you guys are never going to beat Michigan State because we're just a better program than you. Go Green.
Such a weirdo. They lost by like 30-something points today.
Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair.
Many
and
points?
by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life.
Couple things real quick. Johnny Pig chimes in. He says, as I was sitting there live, there were wide receivers open all day. Dylan just couldn't see them for some reason. For example, Fedoni was wide open for a touchdown, and Dylan threw the underneath crosser into coverage for the pick six. Interesting that he says that 12 minutes ago, because right now Sam McEwen tweets out a quote from Dylan Raiola. To his distinct credit, talking after the injury and loss on the pick six, said he bypassed my first read, which was Fedoni, too early. He is spooked, man. He is not comfortable back there throwing the football.
No.
He is not a comfortable quarterback at this moment in time.
No.
He is not comfortable.
402-951-1620. Load up the phones. We've got a couple lines open for you right now. We're live at Cross Drain, just off of Portal Road in La Vista. If you want to come by and join us, please come on by. We got both the Iowa game and the Texas A&M games going on right now on the screens here at Cross Drain. Best part is, even if you can't stick around, you can at least come in, grab yourself a 6-pack or a 4-pack of their delicious beer and take it home. By the way, Cornheads are just $3
all
a piece.
night long.
All night long. Cornhead Lagers, just $3 a piece. Back from Cross Drain after this on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. The stats are fairly even for this one, but
dude,
I mean, the passing yards within 10, the rushing yards, but UCLA with their first 100-yard rushing game of the season.
Unreal.
and Ethan Garbers goes for 56 of them, including a long of 57. So you're taking a couple off for sacks. But talking about sacks, Josh, this was a team that had given up 3 sacks a game, and we said one of the things they needed to do was get after Garbers, and they didn't do that well enough today. Yes, they did get a couple of sacks, but I believe they were both in the second half.
Yep.
And he was allowed to get a little bit comfortable.
Well, what's the long run that he has in the game today? 57.
57.
And that's a new longest run of the year for UCLA. He broke the previous one, which he had in the Rutgers game a few weeks ago.
But yeah, the defense could not get after him enough. And then, quite frankly, I mean, if UCLA doesn't go into a shell in the second half, who knows what the score is? If Nebraska doesn't get benefited by 3 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties that extended drives on third down, does Nebraska score in this game? Because literally all 3 of their scores came after an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty extended the drive.
By the way, there's a lot of commentary right now about play Harburg more, put him in.
Right.
Husker Country writes on YouTube, put Harburg in more to do what? Make similar crappy decisions. I guess I am a little surprised that is what people want, mainly because like we watched that movie last year. On the other hand, I guess I understand it to a degree because he has mobility that Dylan Rhule doesn't have, and so people like the idea of his legs. But I think that the passing game, as bad as it's been, I feel like that would regress as well. And that's why, to go back to the many questions that we have had during the show today, what would you do? I don't have the answer. And this is the bed now that they have made, and they have to lie now in this bed. And that is the problem. It sucks when the issue, and I say this as a Cowboys fan, so I very much know what I'm speaking of about making a bet and then lying in it. It's an issue that goes back to the offseason. The receivers that they brought in have not performed to the level that they need to.
Not even
for
close.
whatever reason, like some of the younger guys, like a Carter Nelson, for example, hasn't been able to come onto the field like maybe we thought he could. Malachi Coleman, he's been non-existent throughout this season. The run game is not good enough. Whether that is a coaching issue, it probably is. Certainly a player issue. They just don't have the good enough guys. And so the fixes right now, in my opinion, are not in season. They are looking at 2025. And that sucks because there's still 3 games left. There's
3 games left. There's still a chance to get to a bowl game. I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that, but there is still a chance. But yeah, what they do in this bye week is going to be really, really fascinating. By the way, South Carolina has just gone up 14-0 on Texas A&M. This has turned into a very weird day here late in college football. At Scoreboard Update brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, your local compressed air system experts. Trevor next on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Good afternoon, or actually now good evening, Trevor.
What's happening, fellas? Hey, I got a few questions. Actually, you guys just knocked me out for my second one. But first off, what's y'all's names?
I'm John. He's Josh.
Hey, first-time caller, never-time listener, but I've appreciated your guys' opinions tonight. Hey, we've dived a lot into the offense tonight. I agree with most what everybody's had to say. My thing is on defense. In defense, our guy coming into the year was Ty Robinson, and right behind him was Luke Gifford. Where's Luke Gifford been all year? Luke Gifford's slow.
You mean Isaac Gifford?
Isaac Gifford.
Isaac Gifford. There we go.
Yeah.
Isaac Gifford. Yeah, he's slow. My 2-year-old could put him out of position. How far behind is number 2 on there?
He didn't. I mean, he led the team in tackles, but certainly, teams have
angles are poor at times.
Angles have been poor at times. Teams have, especially if the quarterback's got time, they have a chance to pick on him early in the game. I thought UCLA had a great game plan in going after Sanders, the redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
First couple of passes completed were to him. I mean, we didn't mention it until yesterday, but the Eric Bieniemy factor,
dude.
It's the guy who was a longtime play caller in the NFL who has a bone to pick with Nebraska with his days at Colorado, had an extra week to prepare, and I thought put together a pretty good game plan, especially with a team that struggles offensively with the run game.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to mix in just enough of the run game to, at least keep Nebraska honest. And then he trusted his quarterback. His quarterback made some nice throws today.
Yeah.
And Unfortunately, they got some good offensive momentum and then carried it over into the second half with a deep shot that turned into a touchdown, and then hung on from there. But this is not this. I tried to warn folks, hey man, the UCLA team, yeah, they're 2-5, but they played a very tough schedule, and they felt good about things going into the idle week after they beat Rutgers, and I thought they were going to give Nebraska a fight, and Nebraska didn't look prepared for a fight, at least early on.
No, they did not. I want to read 5 tweets real quick, back to back, because they all hit on the same thing. Matt writes, this is the game the fans turn on Rhule, especially if you keep Satterfield around. We're on our way to its inevitable conclusion. It's going to be a long 3 to 5 years. Again, we're on our way to an inevitable conclusion. It's going to be a long 3 to 5 years. Chance writes, I've said it a few times in the YouTube chat over the course of the last year and change, but Rhule's dialogue strikes a very similar chord that Mike Riley's did for me, except Rhule's got way less to show for it. Kobe, I'm over this crap. We'll probably lose out. Time to see if we are a big boy program and get rid of the entire offensive staff. The regression since halftime of Rutgers has been insane, all on the staff. Michael, Rhule's press conference really didn't sit well with me. Defend your players, I get it. But if your players believe they are better than how they performed, they are not. 9 games in, you are who you are. And finally, from Scott, if Rhule is serious about wanting to win, that tomorrow morning there will be a press release that Satterfield has been relieved of his duties. If not, he's content losing. I read all those to say this. I've mentioned multiple times this year, trust. Trust in the program. Trust in where things are going. And I have said that the litmus test, this is my first opinion, this was probably September, the first litmus test for trust was going to be Ed Foley and special teams. Obviously, the dialogue has very much changed. I think we're all kind of expecting that. Satterfield and what's happened with him and what's happened with the offense, the trust has eroded in a way that I did not expect it to this year. And maybe this is what happens when you lose 3 games in a row. Maybe this is what happens when you have someone that we view as wow, very eloquent and speaks well for the program. One person's eloquent is another person's used car salesman.
Yeah.
And when things start going poorly, the people who view him more as the latter, the Scott Shanleys of the world, if you will, they say, see, this is a smooth talker with nothing to show for it. I've seen many texts reference 500 coach, 500, the trust is eroding. What does that ultimately mean? I don't know. The ultimate trust is
it means you need to have something happen to turn the tide.
Definitely.
So that something has to happen to turn the tide.
Definitely.
And I'm not sure if he's going to be willing to make that move. And I'll be frank, I'm not sure if that move's going to do any good. I don't.
For the rest of this season?
For the rest of this season.
Yeah, it's hard to say if it will, right? Because the issues of the offense do not go away. The quarterback is still banged up. The offensive line still has problems. The running back room is meh. The wide receivers can't get any separation. What are you going to do? I mean, maybe you have a couple better play calls a game, I guess, but I don't think it's going to solve the problems like everybody wants it to.
Nick is next on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Thanks for calling, Nick.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey.
So, I was at the game, and after the second 3 and out, the fans started booing. I mean, that just sends a bad name for the recruits because they ain't gonna want to come here. I mean, we're gonna be on a slump for a while,
So you're saying the fans should not have expressed their opinion?
No, that's not. But what I'm trying to say is, we're not gonna try and get no recruits because they're gonna look at that and say, "Wow," but.
That's the expectations of a big boy program, Nick.
Hey, Nick, man, other fans, that happens everywhere. That's not going to scare
They were booing last week at Ohio State.
No. I completely agree with the fans. I mean, but it was we just got beat, plain and simple.
Yep.
Nick, appreciate the thoughts.
Wow.
Scott.
Didn't like it, but then was like, I agree with the fans.
Scott, what's on your mind?
Thanks for taking the call. Nick, calm down. Fans boo when the program is not doing anything.
There you go.
What happens. That's not going to turn recruits away. They got bigger problems than that to worry about. A couple of quick things. John, I usually agree with you, but the one I will disagree, that play action was not beautiful. That was horrible. I watched it a few times now. that back was still at least a foot away from Dillon. That's why that backer did not.
I don't know if
at all.
did I say beautiful or I just thought it was.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
for
that's-
him, it was good.
Okay, I'll give you that much. And that's just the whole thing. And there's a list we can go down of why this is terrible, why this season is not going the right way. Just Dillon, the things like that, the inability to do a good play action, those, it doesn't fool anybody, those types of things. The one thing that just drove me nuts as this game went on, and it's why Nebraska is so bad when we're down, especially late. I don't know if it's just Dillon or if it's the play coming in, but we cannot get a snap off until there's 5 seconds or less. Countless times we're in the fourth quarter chasing 2 touchdowns and the play clock's down to 1 second. The minutes that adds up to when you're late in the game and you're down to 1 timeout because whatever reasons it is, it's just infuriating. And I don't know if it's because he's in his head, if it's Satterfield, whatever it is. I don't know how it gets fixed. If Dillon is just shook, but I don't know where we go from here.
Scott, appreciate the call. If I said it was beautiful, maybe
in
misspoke.
jest.
No, for him it was a good play action. The bottom line was this: he had time on the play, and still made a poor read, and still threw it right to a linebacker over the middle. And as he said in his press conference, he had his number one read was open, but he left that read too soon. And that's going to happen, when you're young and you're still getting...
Stops calling him a freshman, John.
Right. But, and this is game 9. This is game 9.
Yeah.
And at some point, just not having the confidence right now to rip it.
He doesn't still. The long throw that got things going in the first quarter, right? Or the first half. That was our first drive that scored a touchdown.
The Barney throw.
Even that throw, it could have gotten picked off.
Yeah.
He underthrew it. He always does. And people have asked a couple times this year, he just doesn't have a strong arm, does he? No, he does. That's the thing. That's the surprising part about it.
Yeah.
He at times has great touch, but it seems for whatever. Now, like, how much of him not ripping it is, not feeling confident in the ankle? I don't know. It's a good question. But
or the shoulder.
Or the shoulder right now.
Or the receiver he's throwing it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Here's John. John, thanks for waiting. You're in the zone.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
So other than no golden tea in the coaching office and no tequila in the coaching office, how is this any different than Scott Frost?
In terms of the results, they did beat Colorado. They did get off to a 5-1
Hey, there you
start.
go. They did beat Colorado.
So they got over that hump, but it's almost like once that happened, then it was like a giant exhale, and they haven't been righted since. I don't know why, but that's kind of where they've been.
And we're going to end up, and I'm actually a little bit excited about it. We're going to end up at the end of the season watching Josh eating a tomato wearing a MAGA hat.
Well, that I hadn't thought of that, but yes, that possibility is open if they lose out. That would happen. John, appreciate the call. But at this point, it's you scratch your head and you wonder, where is the confidence that there was a month ago?
John,
where is it?
John, where was the confidence of a week ago? They, in my opinion,
they're too helter-skelter.
They played Ohio State better than Penn State did. And they were in the horseshoe.
Yeah.
And Penn State was at home.
Yeah.
I watched them go into the shoe and give them everything that they could handle.
Correct.
And I saw Penn State today. They were spotted a 10-0 lead, and it didn't matter. And they slowly wilted away. I'm with you. Where's the team we saw a month ago? But where's the team we saw a week ago? This up and down nature, like that is a thing that we have seen from this program for years, and we saw it under Scott Frost. We saw them inside of games very, very up and down. We saw them week to week very, very up and down. It's a good question. It's a good question. If someone wants to ask, what's the difference? Right now, the vibes had been better. I think that we like how he speaks about the program. It certainly seems like he's happier to be here than the other guy was. but that only goes so far.
No.
You know, like, cool, you like it. You know, just like, cool, you're a jerk. In the end, people just want wins. They want you to win games.
Especially when you're favored at
Especially when you're
home.
favored at home against the easiest team. It's on
At
your schedule in the
home.
last month of the season.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, this team is still mentally weak.
Very much
They're
so.
they're still very mentally weak. Mental toughness is not a, show up and play a team like Ohio State tough at their crib. Mental toughness is something you talk about championship mindset, having a toughness mindset. That's something that carries through week to week to week to week to week to week.
Yeah.
And this team and this program has not had one for a very long time. Still don't have one today.
But I'm stunned at the team that we saw in September versus Colorado,
Yeah.
a good Colorado team that is in the playoff mix. The team that we saw that day, the team that we saw, move up and down on Illinois and faltered late, yes. But where is that team? Where is that quarterback? Where are those receivers? What happened to that Nebraska, to the September Nebraska that we saw? Like, spare me on it just being like they're in the Big Ten now and they're playing. No, I saw them do it against power teams. What happened to that version of the team that we saw? The quarterback who was confident,
Yeah.
I don't think injuries just explain it. I don't.
Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Also brought to you by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Wade, Andy, Ben, Gary, stand by. We'll be to you and more callers live from Cross Drain in La Vista on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. Some finals in the late games. Georgia beat Florida 34-20. The Bulldogs will stay number 2. Oregon won today 38-17 at Michigan. They will stay undefeated at number 1. Number 11, Iowa State, knocked off from the ranks of the undefeated. They lose at home in a late second touchdown by Texas Tech, 23-22. Houston rallies with 14 in the fourth quarter to beat number 17 Kansas State and throw a giant monkey wrench into the Big 12 championship
Wild.
race, 24-19. Houston, the winner. Ohio State won earlier today, 20-13 over Penn State. Miami with a 21-point fourth quarter pulls away from
Dude, and they
53-31. Yeah,
what
they ended
in
up
the
covering.
world? What in the world?
14-3 South Carolina over Texas A&M. And Nick, what's the score in the Iowa
I think
game?
it's 7-3 Iowa right now.
7-3 Iowa over Wisconsin. Your Peerless Energy Systems Scoreboard, your local compressed air systems experts. Before we get to the calls,
Okay. You were adding something. What were you adding over there?
would you like to guess
18.
the last time
Uh-oh.
Nebraska won the 9th game of the season?
Oh, that's a random stat.
The last time Nebraska won game 9 of a season.
Game 9.
Today, by the way, was game 9.
Game 9. They
They
didn't do it
obviously-
in 15. They didn't do it in 16. They didn't do it in 17. Did they do it in 18? They didn't do it in 8. That was Ohio State, wasn't it?
The last time was 2014.
Good Lord. Who was that against? Minnesota? No.
Purdue. I
Purdue or
believe.
Rutgers?
Yeah, it was against.
Tony says 1997.
Yeah, it was against Purdue, 35-14. They didn't play a game 9 in 2020. They only played 8 games in the COVID year. But that is the last time Nebraska has won game 9 of a season.
Yeah.
And their record is now 1-10 in their last 11 November home games.
That's disgusting. Think of all the people, all the great season ticket holders who spend so much money all the time on this stupid program.
I mean, that honestly, those people could just have saved that money and passed it down to their children.
Oh, they could have.
As
would have
their
been-
inheritance.
That would have been great. Instead of having season tickets, they could have just given that money to their eldest.
Yeah, well,
who has not moved away from Omaha and who is still here to see them on a regular basis.
Right.
I don't know who I'm speaking of in this
I don't know who
scenario.
you're speaking of either.
Texter from California, the 310.
Oh,
Right.
Hey, we'll be there in 2 weeks. Not us, but Nebraska football.
The problem is glaringly obvious. The offense has not progressed. The early teams only had a game or two to review. 9 weeks in, and teams have a wealth of knowledge on what our offense wants to do. Have you asked yourself if it's possible the other team has our playbook? That's what happens when you don't progress. Not great, John. Not great, John.
Wade joins us on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Good evening, Wade.
Hi, Wade.
Hey, good evening. Good to see you back, John. How you been?
I'm great. I've been here for a long time. Just not on this show.
I just hadn't seen you on this show much this season. I didn't.
It's been a while.
I didn't call in. The first time I called in this season was last week, but I've tuned into most of the other shows, either live or after it was recorded. But
sure,
to be honest, I don't even know why the hell I called in tonight. I'm totally speechless, pretty much. I just tired of being down in the doldrums, tired of losing, tired of the fool's gold from games like Ohio State.
Yep.
Making me, get your hopes up. And then it's not that I thought we were just going to roll UCLA, because I didn't. I went back and looked at their prior games and scores and things like that, and I knew they were playing better and it was going to be a tough game. But, man, I'm just lose 3 in a row. Just really sick of it. And
yeah,
I guess if you just looked at it on paper, and I called in last week, and I think Josh was on the show, and I said, if we continue with this Jekyll and Hyde business over the last 4 games, then it's we'll be lucky to get to 6-6, 7-5 at best.
Yep.
And it looks like that's coming to fruition. I mean, I just don't. How can you see us going out to Southern Cal and beating USC on their home turf, even though they only have about 25,000 fans will probably show up is all.
Oh my gosh,
But-
dude! Hey, Wade, you are spot on that, man. That crowd is going to be dead. And you know what? I would say this is now prime opportunity for a 10 o'clock Central kickoff with these teams, with Nebraska losing another game. Anyway,
I'm already expecting that for sure.
The last thing I want to do is stay up late to watch this garbage.
Well,
That's
you could
what
wake up early and watch the rest of it in the morning.
I suppose I could. Wade, thanks for the call. Here is Andy up next on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline.
Andy's gone.
Andy is
He said,
gone.
I'm sick of this team too.
Lines open at 402-951-1620. Ben, take his spot. Ben, go.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
You guys just touched on it. I think before the break of looking at this team like week to week and how could we play a team like Ohio State last week, and none of us, at least I didn't think we would be in that game at the end of it, and we showed up. Our defense played great. This entire team, offense specifically, has regressed from week one up to where we are now.
Yes.
There's been no progress. They've gotten worse, in my opinion. I think it was Colorado game. We had a long third down, and I had faith that Rhule would drop back and throw the ball. We got third down today, last week, weeks past. I'm like, we're not going to pick this up at all. Like, I have absolutely no faith in this offense, in the play caller, in Marcus Satterfield. Period. There's a reason he didn't have great offense. He's never had great offenses. I don't know why he's still being trusted to call plays. It's just horrible to sit here and watch. Next week or 2 weeks from now, we could go out to USC and become bowl eligible. But I have this feeling we're going to go 5-7 this season, and we're not going to go to a bowl game. But with that, I'll just hang up and listen to you guys. Thanks.
Thanks for the call. Hey, so here's why you trust that they could do it. They surprised you in a positive way like they did versus Ohio State, and that's all I got for you.
Right.
I mean, that's a horrible reason.
But, and again, that'll just probably add to the frustration, right?
If they came out and played like they did versus Ohio State and beat USC,
right?
Yeah, people would be happy, but it'd also be like, where was this earlier?
Exactly.
A couple texts back-to-back from both from the 402. One of them, can we talk about the regression of Dylan Rhule? That's the biggest story going right now. The other one, does Dylan's regression feel similar to Adrian's regression with Mario? Do we need to start asking questions about Glenn? Do you think that's the biggest story right now? Well, Dylan Rhule's regression is the biggest story. It's obviously among them.
It's among them, absolutely. I mean, but it's again what teams are doing to make him uncomfortable. He was allowed to get very comfortable early in the season. You weren't seeing a lot of pressure up the middle. Now you're seeing guys press his receivers. Now you're seeing things like the mush rush today by UCLA.
You called it out every time they did it. Every time they did it, you lined up that you were like, mush rush.
Anytime it was a third and passing or fourth and passing situation, heck, they even ran it on a 4th and 2 and got a stop.
Yeah.
Because they know if you can get pressure up in his face, he is very uncomfortable. And they know with his poor footwork, he's going to end up either rolling and having to throw on the run or throwing off his back foot, dumping it off. And so teams have exploited that. And it hasn't helped him. So certainly it is a big story. It is. How much of it is injury-based? How much of it is influenced by injury? How much of it is that teams have gotten better, teams have gotten smarter in terms of how to defend Nebraska? It's also
how much of it is just better teams.
Better teams and, the inability to run the ball. When you have an offense like this and you can't run the football or at least make teams honest enough to play the run, it just creates so many difficulties, especially if you don't have elite wide receivers who can get separation, get open, and a quarterback that, isn't a little skittish right now. So, yes, it's definitely a big issue. I mean, right now, you could rank about 15 things at the top of the list because you said it earlier, Josh, everything is just feeding into another.
It's a puzzle.
Everything that is going wrong, especially on offense, is feeding into another. It's all part and parcel of the same issue.
Yep.
And it's very, very difficult.
Quarterback can't do it because the receivers can't separate. The receivers can't separate, and the line sometimes doesn't give it enough time. The running backs obviously aren't very – it's like every single thing causes
play calling
and then
certainly too.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention Satterfield. And he obviously plays a part in it too. So everything hurts. Everything right now hurts.
Big Red Overreaction brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We always thank Old Man Doug for all his support.
Yeah.
Also by No Name Nutrition, live a better, healthier, more natural life, and by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. Back to the phones, and Gary is next. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Jay and Jay, how you doing?
Good, Gary. What's going on, man?
Well, never been a fan of Satterfield for 2 years.
Good take.
Now I'm not a fan of Mr. Foley. And, of course, I'm really not set on Rhule's offensive line coaching. But I'm going to throw another name on our offensive side of the ball. We hired a quarterback coach.
Yep.
And my understanding is when you hire a quarterback coach, he is to help you with your mechanics, your footwork, and where you're going with the ball. But I don't see that in 9 games so far this season with Dylan. So let's have another topic of conversation and see what's going on with a quarterback coach that was supposed to come in and help a young man with all that stuff to make him successful, because I don't see that happening either. Love your show. Thank you, guys.
Good question, Gary. And remember, Dylan also, works with another quarterback guru in the off season. And you would think these are things that, because you can get away with that stuff in high school.
Yes, you can. You can get away with a lot in high school.
And you can get away with it early in the season against grossly overmatched competition.
UTEP is one of the worst teams in the entire country. Worst teams in the entire country.
And Northern Iowa just doesn't have the horses.
They're an FCS school.
Right.
And
they did get it done against Colorado, but a lot of that was fed off the defense.
Sure, yeah. The defense got off to such a good start that they were able to go downhill. It's a great question. That is something that it's been talked about now for a good month, how poor his mechanics are. And I think, I don't like the word lazy, but I think you ever play golf and the round starts getting away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say it's lazy when your swing just you're not doing every single thing, because every single thing requires so much focus. And I wonder if that's what's happening. Some might say, Josh, that's laziness. And if you want to call it that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's what it looks like to me. It looks like someone who is frustrated and is trying to work through it and is thinking too much.
Perhaps.
And it's causing a lot of problems. And John, that's why when there are plays where receivers are open or running backs are open or tight ends are open, that's what makes me think that he is not going to those guys all the time, because he is doing and focusing on so much. And so he's not focused on this thing because he's focused on that thing. And then he's not focused on that thing because he's focused on something else. And all of that goes into a stew or a soup, and it's making for a really bad product.
A&M has added a field goal. They're now down 14-6 at South Carolina. Iowa has added a touchdown. It's up 14-3 Hawkeyes midway through the second quarter.
I got a text from somebody, casual. Another one, Colin says lackadaisical. Those are casual. I like that. And lackadaisical, I think, is good, because I think that's what's happening right now, is that he is, his footwork early on, I don't think it was ever great. But right now it's worse. And I think that is causing obviously it's causing a huge, huge problem. That's a texture from the 402. Lazy is the correct word. And maybe it is.
Here is Kyle. Hi, Kyle. You're on Big Red Overreaction, and it sounds like Kyle's phone dropped.
Hi, Kyle.
Out. This is Tom. Tom, you're up next on Big Red Overreaction.
Yeah, hello?
Hey.
Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, first-time caller. Really enjoy the show. I just got a few things to say. Number one, it's getting painfully obvious that who's ever assessing the talent in the transfer portal is doing a poor job. I mean, like you guys have mentioned several times, these 2 transfer wide receivers are horrible. And we had the debacle of Jeff Sims last year. Plus, this offense is pathetic in the red zone. We got to be one of the worst red zone offenses in the nation. And I'm really starting to think that Ohio State just completely looked past us last week. I mean,
fair.
It does make a lot of sense.
They had they were tinkering around with their offensive line. And obviously, this week they got it worked out against Penn State, and they look like a completely different team. So, I'm not going to give any props to the team last week for sticking with Ohio State, because it's just painfully obvious that they completely looked past us, because they were looking at Penn State. And, I'm just going to close it and listen. But last thing I got to say, man, if U-Haul's not circling Satterfield's house by the end of the weekend, and Rhule is perfectly fine with this substandard offense that he's got going for us. Thanks for letting me on the air, and I'll just listen offline.
Tom, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the call. To
answer the red zone question,
yes.
They came into the game 127th in the country in red zone scoring percentage.
They did go 3 for 4 today.
They did, but one
of them was getting stopped on 4th down.
And that touchdown would have been nice.
That touchdown would have been nice. We might have had an overtime. You can do as these fine, handsome people have done, and that's buy yourself a 4-pack
or two
and take it home. Don't drink it all in one night.
Don't do that.
Not in one night. Maybe 2.
2 nights.
Maybe 2.
Yeah.
Dallas plays tomorrow at noon. You might need him for that.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Why did we have to do that?
I'm sorry.
Why did we have to bring up that game?
Hey, I want to give another shout out to Equitable Bank. We
Shout
take
out
banking
Equitable.
personally.
Yeah.
Equitable Bank. Always great sponsors of the Zone. Also, by No Name Nutrition, live a better, healthier, more natural life. Also, by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. We got Nate, we got OJ, we got Taylor, and we have Hank's Bar and Grill.
Oh, the whole bar and grill?
The whole bar and grill.
That is
And
what
this
I was
will be-
told.
And this will be our final segment, I believe, correct?
Oh, no. Only one left?
Only one left.
Bummer.
But we're going to get to your calls.
Let's
and
do it.
maybe some more as well. If you still got them, we'll be here to answer them. We're live at Cross Train.
Yeah.
Thanks again to Doug and everybody here at Cross Train for being our host today on Big Red Overreaction on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg. USC, Nebraska's next opponent, down 10-7 in the second quarter. That game on BTN right now. Looks like Iowa's still up 14-3. Wisconsin's trying to get in the end zone. But 14-3 right now, Iowa over Wisconsin. That's your Peerless Energy Systems scoreboard update. Peerless, your local compressed air systems expert. This is Big Red Overreaction, brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and by No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Final segment here from Cross Drain in La Vista. Let's go to Taylor, who's waiting on the Jay Stinnett Contracting Hotline. Taylor, good evening.
Good evening. How are you guys doing?
Hey.
We're good.
Hey, Eagles fan here. Sorry, Josh, but I'm not from
Eagles
but I'm from Fremont, so I'm not.
Taylor,
I'm
that's
not
a
an
good-
asshole like the rest of them.
Whoa, hey.
I probably can relate to Wrist. She's probably a good Eagles fan, not too like the others. But anyway,
Taylor?
Wow.
I think Taylor had a nice preamble and then forgot the next line.
That call ran out of steam quicker than any call I perhaps have ever heard.
That ran out of steam like a Nebraska drive after
Hey-yo!
5 straight runs and then deciding to throw it and end up leaving on downs.
Yes.
Hank's Bar and Grill. Hank, what's on
Hey,
special tonight?
Hey, fellas, we got Modelo, we got Jack Fire, and Jack Daniels on tap here as well. But wanted to call in. I know Josh, not a big Fedoni fan. You know, you all had your battles last year, but I'm confused with Satterfield's calls. You know, he gets Fedoni the ball 3 yards behind the line. Clearly, that's not working for about 8 games in a row now, but can't find him down the field. I just don't understand Satterfield. Fedoni is definitely a threat, but just can't find him down the field. I don't know what we do with Satterfield. I got a month-old baby here crying. She can't stand it either. Tell me what you think on that.
Thomas Fedoni tonight had 4 catches. Would you like to guess how many yards?
I saw, yeah.
16.
16 yards.
Four catches, I bet, for 20 yards, if that.
No, 16 yards. It was 4 catches for 16 yards. And he had a long of 8 yards. So that means 3 other catches went for 8.
Listen to her. Letting it rip over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't take it anymore.
All right. Appreciate the call. Boy.
It's the end of Big Red Overreaction.
It must be.
It definitely is right now.
It must be.
Yeah.
Next up is Nate. Nate, can you bring it tonight?
Yeah, is this Nate? You're talking to Nate?
Yeah, Nate, that's you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey. So I agree with the last caller. Fedoni is the most overrated tight end we've ever had, and he doesn't get used right. But how about this? How about I want your take on this play action, which I thought was awesome. Like we line up in shotgun, and then we attempt this weak. I won't say it.
You can say ass.
Okay, I can say ass.
Yeah, weak ass. Yeah.
Yeah, like this play action where he sort of holds the ball out for a running back that's 2 yards away from him, believing that maybe the stupid defense will actually bite on that.
Yeah.
It's just insane. And the reason that doesn't work, of course, as we all know, is because we don't have an identity. We don't run the ball. We run the ball down at the when we scored the first touchdown. We pounded it in with a fullback from 8-10 yards away. There was another drive where we ran it down their throats and then we quit. Satterfield has got to go. They are ruining this poor kid's career. This Rhule, he came to the wrong place. He came to the wrong program. I feel sorry for the kid. They are destroying his career and his confidence with this insane play calling. We have no identity. We don't know if we're a running team. We don't know if we're a passing team, a pro set. Who the hell are we? We have no idea. And it looks like we're getting worse every week. We're getting worse.
Regressing.
Yeah, it is regressing, Nate. Appreciate the call. Thanks. I mean, next week, if there was a week, if you were going to do something mid-season, this is the time. This would be the time to do it. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, Matt Rhule has been pretty steadfast. These are his guys. These are the guys he brought in. And, he's all been about, building this program and building the process. But right now, you are regressing. You can't just look back and keep pointing. Look at last week. Look at last week. Because now last week looks like the aberration.
Yes, it does.
You got shut out in the first half against Purdue. Couldn't get out of your own way. The reason you won is because they're a really bad team. You did turn it on in the second half, but they're a bad football team. You struggled against Rutgers, but you did manage to win the game. But offensively, not a lot there. Indiana was a disaster. Sure, Ohio State, you played with your hair on fire. You played with guts. You played with determination. But then this week you get this. What's the aberration? The aberration is looking like last week. So something that the overall trend, even though last week was this nice little peak, the overall trend is still south. It's still down. It's still negative. And something has to change if you're going to change the flow and at least get back to where you can win a game. Because guess what? USC is a better football team than UCLA. Wisconsin?
Hey, at the very least, Wisconsin owns you.
Exactly.
So if, at the very least, like, forget about if they're good, better, or worse. They own you, and right now with the mentality of this program, all bets are off in that game, right?
Right.
And we know what Iowa can do.
And we know what Iowa can do. We said that, 3-4 is certainly doable after last week. 0-4 is on the table after today. And that's scary.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. By No Name Nutrition, live a better, healthier, more natural life. And by Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair. OJ is next. Good evening, OJ.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of what the previous callers were saying about Thomas Spadoni. I think that the coaching staff needs to get him more involved, because if they don't, then you guys are never going to beat Michigan State ever again, because we're just a better program than you. Go Green.
OJ just, and whatever, he changes his name every week, but,
He called twice tonight.
Yeah.
They lost by 30 points.
It was Montez earlier, I think.
Yeah.
Come on, Peter. Boo.
So I didn't recognize the voice. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is kind of a
I let you know.
Kale and Cody is next. Hi, Kale and Cody.
Hey, we're first time callers. We were at the game, and I'm not for firing anybody during the season,
but
Matt Satterfield should be fired at the end of the year.
Matt Satterfield
Is that
or Marcus Satterfield?
Is that Scott's brother?
Marcus. Sorry.
Oh,
and
no
my
problem.
brother has something to say about the secondary.
Okay.
Arizona's been getting worse throughout the year. It was terrible versus Illinois, and it's bad now. There is a fly down the left side this game that looks uncovered completely.
Also, just back to Satterfield,
Yeah.
you go out there, run 3 pass plays in a row, don't do nothing with it, go 3 and out. You got to go in there and run the ball, get some yards and something to work with. That's my opinion. I know Satterfield knows better than me, but yeah.
Kale and Cody, thanks.
So they started the game. They started the game with a 3 and
straight
out,
passes,
and they started the game with 3 straight passes,
Yeah.
and those passes picked up 0 yards, right? Isn't that what it was?
I
0
believe
yards?
So.
Not
Either
great.
0 or 2 or something.
It was a
ridiculous
horrible
like that.
start, and it was after that super, super long drive, and off to the races UCLA went.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about, actually, they started with a run.
They did?
Yeah. Dowdell ran the ball.
Oh, nice. And then they passed.
But
it
one of
twice
the things we talked about was getting off to a good start, because one of the things that allowed last week to happen was the defense got off to a good start.
Yeah.
They picked up the special teams that, put them in a bad place. But they got off to a good start. And this team so is reliant on getting off to a good start.
Front runners.
Well, guess what happened today? First 3 drives, 13 points for UCLA. First 3 drives. And the first one took half the quarter off the clock. This is a momentum team. This is a team that still can't find a way to build momentum and find that stopper, right?
Yeah.
UCLA goes down the field, gets 3. You go 3 and out. Then UCLA goes down the field. They get 7. And Nebraska's all of a sudden on its skates. They did get a touchdown back, but then UCLA back down the field. First 3 drives, 13 points against a team that, until the Rutgers game, had struggled to score. It's incredible, but you can almost tell what's going to happen in the first 2 possessions of every football game.
They have suddenly become that type of program where you watch the start of the game and it tells the whole story of the rest of the
game.
You know, like, and I know that we keep talking about Ohio State and Penn State, mainly because Nebraska played them last week. Watch the first couple possessions of that game. You know what they don't tell you? They don't tell you what's going to happen. If you watch the first couple of possessions for both teams, you think, wow, Penn State's going to win this football game. They go right down the field. They get a field goal. They get a pick 6, and they're up 10-0. And it's like, oh, my gosh, this place is going to explode. Are they going to run them out of the building? No. Ohio State, you know what they didn't do? They didn't panic. They were fine. They got past it. Nebraska, last week, if that Ohio State drive, I feel very comfortable saying this now, John. If that first Ohio State drive results in a touchdown, it's probably similar to the Indiana game the week before. But shout out to the defense. They bowed up, and they answered it. But this is a front-running team. They have to have something go right for them early. What happened in the Colorado game? Things went right. The game went okay for them. But what happens against Illinois? They punch them in the mouth early. Indiana punches them in the mouth early. UCLA punches them in the mouth. They were chewing up clock. They were getting so many yards.
Yeah.
So easy for them to move the ball up and down the field.
Well, once again, we want to thank Doug and everybody here.
Oh, we've had a great
Equitable
time.
Bank. This has been a great time, even though the game did not go the way that we had hoped. We were hoping that this would be a bowl game celebration. Instead, it's going to be a long 2 weeks until next Saturday night at 11 o'clock Atlantic time.
Dude, when that kickoff time comes out, and it might be tomorrow or it might get 6 to 8, if that is that 10 o'clock Central kickoff, oh boy. Shout out to the people that have to do overreaction for that game.
I can only pray that USC wins tonight and that NBC picks up that game so we don't have
Or
that
maybe 3
problem.
o'clock on BTN or FS1,
Probably.
something like that.
Yeah,
That'd be
something.
Nice.
I don't know, but it's going to be a long week.
Going to be a long 2 weeks.
And we'll be back on Monday. All of our shows. Don't forget Michael Severe tomorrow morning at 8.
Very curious. Michael's texted a couple times throughout the show today to me, and he mentioned, like, in the second half, there were 52 plays to only 17 in the second half for Nebraska. So it's like they chewed up all that clock that they kind of lost in the first half. Very curious to see what Michael thinks after giving this game a rewatch and what his takeaways are and what they can do in the final 3 games of the season.
Want to thank Equitable Bank, who takes banking personally, answers the phone on the first ring. They are here for us and for you in our community. Equitable Bank, our title sponsor, alongside of Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair, and No Name Nutrition. Live a better, healthier, more natural life. Also thanks to Peerless Energy Systems and our Dingman's Collision Center and Mechanical Repair hotline. So a week off, and then 2 weeks from tonight, likely, USC. Wow. 3 games remaining in the season. There are still 3 chances to get to a bowl game. I know it feels like it's gone a long way away, but can they go 1 for 3?
Hey, you wait.
1 for 3.
You wait 9
good,
months.
Good day in baseball.
You wait 9 months.
I know.
Get 3 more of these, and then we have to
That's
do
right.
it all over again. Enjoy them.
Thanks a lot to Nick Grimm for getting us set up here today, to Peter Krenzer, our producer back at 50th and Capitol. For Josh Peterson, I'm John Bishop. Thanks a lot for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Don't forget to exercise your civic duty and vote on Tuesday.
Nice. I already voted, actually.
Oh, you did?
I already voted.
Oh, are you going to vote again?
That's illegal, John.
Oh, is it?
That's illegal.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
In Chicago, it's legal, though.
Nice, John.
No.
Nice.
All right. Have a great weekend,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
We'll see you next time on Big Red Overreaction from 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.